Scavenge, the Swanton Town Administrator, and I'm filling in for Brian Savage tonight. He had a commitment in Montpelier and couldn't be here as a moderator. So to begin, I'd like to recognize Joel Clark, Chair of the Select Board, to open up the Select Board meeting.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Call to order the February 26th Swanton Budget Informational meeting. It's 7 p.m. I'd like everybody to please rise and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does the school board open up their meeting as well?
Yes, so recognize the school board to open up their meeting. Chairs.
We're not going to read the articles.
Then we just call the meeting
I'll
to
start the
order.
order.
Who's the vice chair?
Make a motion to call the meeting to order at 7:04.
Second?
All right. For the select board agenda review, Kathy, anything? Jeff?
I'm good.
Danny?
I'm good.
James? Good. John? Good. I just have one thing, is we're going to have a short presentation right after we get done with the agenda review. I guess we could start that right now. Neil?
Yeah.
Come on up. It's time. I know this is a budget information meeting, but with everything that's happened in Swanton,
I think it's coming up front.
where are we going?
Up front.
It's going to be easier for you to present them out here, so it's coming out to join you. With everything that's been going on the last couple of months in relations to the floods and things, we thought it was time for a couple of special presentations. It'll take just a few minutes, but we thought it was very important to take advantage of this camera time and recognize some people. So that said, I'll first turn it over to Neil.
Reggie and Joel told me to get up and say a few words. And Reggie promised if I said a few words tonight, he'd say them all tomorrow. So, anyways, I'm Neil Spear. I'm the village president, which is a part of the Swanton community. And that being said, it's a hard thing to say a few words about such great goings on and great people in a small community. And it's been a real tough winter for the Swanton community, all of us. And tonight we'd like to recognize a few dedicated community service departments and people in them. The fire department, I'm going to go over this collectively the first, and then I'm going to pick some people out of the audience to present the award. As you know, about a month and a half ago, we were put to the test. Well, we've been being put to the test since last summer when the dam blew, and then the flood about a month and a half ago, and it showed how strong small communities can be. And our community is no exception, because our groups, fire department, the police department, and the rescue all stood up to the plate, and they worked like clockwork with this, well, not quite like clockwork, but it went pretty good. And with the state agencies, and I'm representing the village and the town tonight, and I'd like to present some little token of our appreciation for the past month and a half's activities. The fire department, they had their boat out, they had guys walking in the water, evacuating the people, and the rescue was right there to treat them and set up the shelters, and the PD was there for whatever reason, and everybody came together and did a great job. And I'm sure if there's any victims here that they'd go for that. And the school district, they have a shelter up there. Everything great for the situation that we were in. So, first of all, I'd like to call Timmy Gerard up from our fire department. Chief, thank you. I'll just read this out. The Village of Swanton would like to recognize the Swanton Village Fire Department for the rescue efforts during the early morning hours of January 13, 2018, and the days that followed. We braved raising flood waters to rescue our citizens in need, and we thank you. Congratulations.
I can't say enough for this award, and I thank everybody here that presented it. There was a lot of people that came together, and a lot of people that lives were saved that morning. But if we didn't have the team that we have that's sitting in the back of the room and then right here, we might have lost some of our Swanton residents. So I can't say anything more than thank you for this. On behalf of the fire department, thank you.
So I'm not going to speak as the village manager tonight, but as the EMD director for Swanton, the entire community. There's some young gentlemen, and I know they're not all here tonight, they're probably out there training, but they were in the suits at 1 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, taking people out of their homes. So Timmy for setting up the IC, Jason Cross for setting up the on-scene operations out there in the roadway. We also had Troy Campbell in the wetsuits, we had Daryl Domina in the wetsuit, Jason Guyette, Nick Schuster, and Joan Snyde. So all these gentlemen are out there Monday night training, but these folks were out there with the boat taking people to safety. So we give them
Kept that a good secret.
You're welcome.
Do we have Julie here?
Nobody's out of the office.
Maybe they've got some calls. Anyways, we have, I also have a plaque from the Swanton PD, which reads, Village of Swanton would like to recognize the Swanton Village Police Department for the rescue and patrol efforts during the early morning hours of January 13, 2018, and the days that followed. Your dedication to our citizens and your extra patrol in the flooded areas was greatly appreciated. Thank you. And
Also with that, I'd like to mention too that Chad Farah, even though he wrecked the ATV, is still out there helping rescue folks out in the Monument Road area. We'll get back to Joey.
Right, there's Joey right there.
Chief.
The other chief.
Come and be recognized, Chief.
You're not the chief yet, Tony.
Oh, seems like you were here a little late. I'll read it. Village of Swanton would like to recognize the Swanton Police Department for the rescue and patrol efforts during the early morning hours of January 13, 2018, and the days that followed. Your dedication to our citizens and your extra patrol in the flooded areas is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you. Lastly, but not least, someone from the rescue, like to come up, Lynn? Yeah, come on, Lynn.
Joey could have done that one too.
The Village of Swanton would also like to recognize Missisquoi Valley Rescue for the humanitarian efforts during the early morning hours of January 13, 2018, and the days that followed. Great efforts didn't go unrecognized.
recognition of the three major groups that took place as part of the rescue operations, and certainly thanks go out to all the other state agencies and so on. But if you came into this office area very often during this whole period, starting with the actual floods in January until even the other day, there's someone else who's working pretty tirelessly in the background making things happen. And the town of Swanton wanted to make sure she got recognized for her effort. And so, Diane, would you please join us up here? And so you can stay right up here, Neil. So this is a resolution. I'd like to read it. Resolution of commendation and appreciation for Diane Day. Whereas Diane Day serves in a professional capacity as the village clerk for the village of Swanton, Vermont. And whereas Diane Day is part of the emergency action team that responded to the ice jam flood and disaster along the Missisquoi River in Swanton, provided valuable services to the team, such as record keeping at team meetings, serving as a liaison between the team and various state agencies, charitable organizations, and local groups, serving as the contact person for flood victims seeking assistance, and coordinating the flow of information to all participants on the emergency action team. Whereas Diane Day engaged in enthusiastic and extraordinary professional service to the emergency action team that far exceeded her normal duties as the village clerk. Whereas the Swanton Select Board members desire to extend their sincerest gratitude for Diane Day's assistance to the town and its residents. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Swanton Select Board commends and appreciates Diane Day's extraordinary service beyond the call of duty and wants to make that commendation and appreciation a matter of public record for posterity. Further be resolved, the town of Swanton Select Board directs that this resolution of commendation and appreciation for Diane Day be duly recorded in minutes of the Select Board's regular meeting on the 26th day of February 2018. So thank you very much. Get it framed, but we will get that back to you and put it in a nice frame. Thank you very much. And that was going to be the end of all the presentations, but yeah, not quite. If Reggie could come up here, please. Reggie? Because there's this guy called the Emergency Management Director for Swanton, who also happens to be the village manager, and I think he gets paid $0 for this extra duty. So it's worth it to recognize Reggie for his efforts. So we did a similar type resolution, and I'd like to read that too. Whereas Reginald Bellevaux, in a professional capacity as village manager and emergency management director of Swanton, Vermont. Whereas Reginald Bellevaux, as the director of emergency management team that responded to the ice jam flood and disaster along the Missisquoi River in Swanton, provided valuable leadership services to the town, coordinated emergency services during the flooding, communicating with state emergency operations center and state officials, conducting press conferences, and leading recovery operations. His efforts kept multiple local and state agencies, charitable organizations, and support groups focused on restoring services and providing prompt response to those in need. Whereas Reginald Bellevaux engaged in enthusiastic and extraordinary professional leadership to the emergency action team that far exceeded his normal duties as village manager. Whereas the Swanton Select Board members desire to extend their sincerest gratitude, I'm going to say Reggie this time,
Okay.
for Reggie's professional response to the town and its residents. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Swanton Select Board commends and appreciates Reggie's extraordinary service beyond the call of duty and wants to make that commendation and appreciation a matter of public record for posterity. And I'll leave it to that. The rest is like Diane, but I want to thank you very much for all of you.
I'm going to say one more thing. As two boards, two separate boards, we do an excellent job of what we do every day. But when you get all of us together for an emergency like this, we really kick some serious butt. I can't, everybody says, well, thank you, you did a great job. I didn't have the support of you folks and the trustees during, I always look over here, trustees, but for the trustees during that time period, it wouldn't have been as great as the turnout as it was. So I want to thank them and thank all the emergency services folks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reggie.
All right, David, you're up.
Okay, I don't have the booming voice that Brian has, but I'll do my best to read the warning. Town of Swanton and Town of Swanton School District Annual Meeting, Tuesday, March 6, 2018. The legal voters of the Town of Swanton and the Town of Swanton School District, who are legal voters in town meeting, are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex, First and Elm Street, Swanton, on Tuesday, March 6, 2018, at 7 a.m. to vote on the articles herein set forth. All articles are to be voted by the Australian ballot system. The polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Article 1, to elect from the legal voters of said town the following officers: moderator, town and town school district, 1 selectman for a 3-year term, 1 selectman for a 2-year term, 1 lister for a 3-year term, 1 auditor for a 3-year term, 1 school director for a 3-year term, 1 school director for a 2-year term, 1 trustee of public money for a 3-year term, 1 cemetery commissioner for a 5-year term, 1 cemetery commissioner for a 4-year unexpired year term, town grand juror, town agent, and the collector of delinquent taxes. Article 2, will the town appropriate $849,040.60 for the operation and maintenance of the town highway department? Article 3, will the town appropriate $212,625 for fire protection, $58,470 of which is for a fire truck replacement fund? Article 4, will the town appropriate $110,086.13 to provide police protection to the residents of the town of Swanton? Article 5, shall the voters of the Swanton School District approve the school directors to expend $8,397,480, which is the amount the school directors have determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $13,266 per equalized pupil. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 7.25% lower than spending for the current year. Article 6, will the voters of the Swanton School District authorize the school directors to borrow money in anticipation of taxes? Article 7, will the town appropriate $501,367.91 for the town general expenses? Article 8, shall the town collect its real and personal property taxes to defray the expenses of the town for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2018, and annually thereafter by its actual receipt of payment? Postmarks will not be accepted at the town offices by 5 p.m. on October 15th, or if the 15th shall fall on a weekend or holiday, the following business day by 5 p.m., with an 8% penalty and 1% interest per month for, or portion thereof, due thereof for the first 3 months, and 1.5% per month or portion thereof thereafter, to be charged for late payment of any installment. Article 9, will the town authorize the selectmen to borrow money in anticipation of taxes? Article 10, will the town appropriate $241,700 to provide rescue services to the residents of the town of Swanton? Article 11, will the town appropriate $93,922 towards the operating and maintenance budget of the recreation department? Article 12, will the town appropriate $149,992.90 toward the operating and maintenance budget of the Swanton Public Library? Article 13, will the town appropriate $13,497 in support of Franklin County Home Health? Article 14, will the town appropriate $1,900 in support of the Champlain Valley Agency on Aging? Article 15, will the town appropriate $1,000 in support of the Northwest Unit for Special Investigations? Article 16, will the town appropriate $500 in support of an MDU substance-free party? Article 17, will the town appropriate $500 in support of Samaritan House? Article 18, will the town appropriate $1,800 in support of Northwestern Counseling and Support Services? Article 19, will the town appropriate $375 in support of the Foster Grandparent Program? Article 20, will the town appropriate $250 in support of Vermont Green Up? Article 21, will the town appropriate $500 in support of the Franklin County Animal Rescue? Article 22, will the town appropriate $1,000 in support of the Franklin County Court Diversion Program? Article 23, will the town appropriate $250 in support of Franklin County Citizens Advocacy? Article 24, will the town appropriate $2,000 in support of Friends of Northern Lake Champlain? Article 25, will the town appropriate $12,000 in support of the Swanton Teen Center? Article 26, will the town appropriate $2,500 in support of the Green Mountain Transit Agency? Article 27, will the town appropriate $500 in support of the Missisquoi River Basin Association? Article 28, will the town appropriate $1,500 for the feeding, care, and maintenance of the Royal Swans? Article 29, will the town appropriate $750 in support of the Franklin Grand Isle Bookmobile? Article 30, will the town appropriate $500 in support of Vermont Center of Independent Living? Article 31, will the town appropriate $500 in support of Vermont Adult Learning? Article 32, will the town appropriate $1,500 in support of Swanton Enhancement Project? The legal voters of the town of Swanton are further notified that an informational meeting will be held at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex on Monday, February 26, 2018 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of explaining all budget items to the voters. Dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 25th day of January 2018, and it's signed by both the Select Board and the School Board, and dated and filed the 25th of January 2018, attested to by Town Clerk Kathy Fournier. So, thank you.
All right, I believe it is school district's time.
So before we jump into things, we just wanted to say good evening and thank you for taking the time to come out tonight. We very much appreciate it. We also wanted to go down a quick rundown of the current members. This includes our chair, Terry, vice chair, Patty Jo, and members Toby, John, and myself, Megan Conley. We also wanted to note that this composition will be a bit different after next week's meeting, as we have Patty Jo is not seeking re-election. Other than that, we just wanted to go ahead and I'll hand things over to you, Patty Jo.
Before we jump into the nitty-gritty of our budget, the school budget this year, we wanted to acknowledge some feedback that we received from last year's informational budget meeting. We revised that it was too long. There was too much information overload, and it was difficult to follow due to the complex of the ed funding formula. So, we shortened it up a little bit. The total proposed budget for the FY19 Swanton school year is $8,397,480. This is a decrease of $5,515, 4.07% from the previous year. Our cost savings are new statewide health care plans that was reinvested into professional salaries to aid in hiring and retention of quality educators. Our Babcock roof bond has been paid off. Early retirement incentive payments, those were completed in FY17 as well. Special education costs are also down. If all things were equal, our budget would be our proposed budget amount divided by our number of students, which we have done, and so you can see how that adds up. This is one way of thinking about it. Unfortunately, this is not how the state does it. The state calculates spending per pupil or your education tax rate differently.
Okay, I'm going to explain the education spending per equalized pupil. The term education spending refers to the approved budget minus any projected revenues. And this education spending figure is then divided by the number of equalized pupils to provide your education spending per equalized pupil. So this is what your tax rate is calculated upon. And to define more equalized pupils, Vermont uses the equalized pupils rather than the actual head count in each school. It is also calculated using the average daily membership, which is the ADM. And the ADM is determined through a student census data collection conducted in the fall. And the average daily membership is then weighted to account for higher cost students, such as high school students, the English language learners, low-income students, pre-kindergarten students receive a fractional weight. And the principle behind the weighting is that it costs more to educate students in certain categories. And weighted long-term ADM is a 2-year average. And this next one is the tax rate, how the tax rate is calculated. Fiscal year 19 proposed budget is $8,397,480 minus the projected revenues, which is $1,020,990. This results in education spending of $7,376,490. And that's divided by the number of equalized pupils, which is 556.06 students. And that's equals the spending per equalized pupil of, that's how we get the $13,266. And that amount is 7.25% lower than the $14,303, which is the spending per equalized pupil for this current year. And that is divided by the property yield, which is $9,842, which gives the homestead tax rate of $1.35. And that is multiplied by the percent of elementary students attending elementary school, which is 53.27%. And that is the equalized tax rate of 0.718 cents. And that is multiplied by the common level of appraisal, which is 104.14%. And that's a projected homestead tax rate of 0.689. And the projected homestead tax rate increase of 0.005, or comes up to 0.5%. It's a lot. A lot to dig in.
So the language that will be appearing on the ballot, which is state mandated, is as follows. Shall the voters of the Swanton School District approve the school directors to expend $8,397,480, which is the amount the school directors have determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $13,266 per equalized pupil. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 7.25% lower than spending for the current year. And just another reminder that the vote is next Tuesday, March 6th, here at the Village Municipal Complex. Are there any questions?
Adam Paxman. I want to thank you folks for doing your darndest to get this thing as level as possible. Obviously, it's not easy.
It's not.
In going through your budget, I had a quick question on page 83 with regards to your transportation costs. They seem high. They seem high. And I was wondering if that's something that can be looked at and that folks can look to see if we can make the buses full when they run instead of half full. I know there's scheduling issues and routes and things, but it seems to me there can be a better job done in that area. So, thank you.
I can speak to that, if that's okay with the board.
Go right ahead.
Swanton is one of the broadest geographic towns in the state of Vermont. So one of the reasons that transportation is high is there's a lot of geography that has to be covered. Our students are both elementary and high school riding the same buses. So you might see a bus here that maybe only has elementary students, but there are going to be high school students that either got on before or after. So that's another consideration. And given that recently we've had a lot of students out with flu, you might see a little emptier bus. We run 11 buses at the Swanton Elementary, and it's difficult with after-school programs and those kinds of issues to always have a full bus. We've looked at routes and options. We've just negotiated a new 3-year contract that, again, I think we do as good a job as we can do right now. But that's always been a challenge for any school district in Vermont, to be able to keep enough full buses and not have students riding too long a time. We have some other school districts in Franklin Northwest where students ride an hour and 15 minutes, and that's too long. So there's a balance between how long they ride and how full the buses are.
Has there been any thought given to eliminating busing within certain areas of the village and encouraging walkers?
Well, if I might continue, we actually on Wednesdays have walking Wednesdays when the weather is reasonable, and we actually drop off students at 5 different spots in town where the bus students will walk in with walkers. You certainly can look at the perimeter, but that always creates some challenges. So we certainly look at everything we can to save money.
That's all I ask.
Yeah.
What is our perimeter?
Can I speak to the process of
I think it's a mile.
Yeah.
Can I speak to the
Yeah.
Also, we are, it's necessary that we follow the RFP process dictated by the state because the contract's over 50,000. And so Min said we just went through that process again, launched a formal request for proposals. We oftentimes try to gather more bids, but we are not successful. I think due to the geographic isolation here, we can't seem to solicit any other bids, even though we've been trying. Not to say that we're unhappy or dissatisfied, but sometimes it's just nice to have a comparison, but we haven't been unable to get those, but we have been trying.
The other piece that might not be blatantly obvious is 50% of the transportation expense is reimbursed by the state. So it's not totally borne by taxpayers. With statewide funding formula, it's actually shared with the rest of the state.
And you can see that amount on your tax rate page on 85. You'll see a revenue of transportation reimbursement, which is projected to be $138,000 this year.
Thank you. So I've got a couple of questions. I don't have last year's budget in front of me here, but through your PowerPoint of dropping 7.25% per pupil, it equates out to about $961 savings per pupil. So call it $1,000. With the amount of kids that you have in the school, that's a $500,000 drop in the cost for educating the pupil. Correct?
Are you speaking about enrollment or equalized people?
The 500, how many people are children you have? 500 and
556.06 is equalized people. That's not actually bodies. That's
okay.
That's that equalized people definition we were talking about. That's what the state uses to divide our spending. Is that number you're talking about? Or
so what I went by was I thought it was 576 minus the 7.25%. Last year it would have been $14,227 per child. This year it's $13,266 of a savings of about $1,000. Over the 550 something children, that's $553,000 less. And so how do you explain that?
He's subtracting this year's proposed budget from last year's budget.
Right.
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So, I mean,
we're not used to compliments.
So, does that reflect in our budget? I know Kathy says we still got to wait for the state to tell us what we're going to do. But
and the picture statewide, if legislature passes everything that they're talking about right now, it's going to look even better than that. But we don't cash that chit in until the legislature is done. But it is less. And we actually, total number of bodies, we have 597. But when you do the equalization, an elementary student is counted at 87% of one. If they're from a poverty household, they get another 25% boost on top of that. If their family doesn't speak English as a primary language, there's another 20% boost on top of that. So there's a lot of factors that go into the equalization, and it's very complex. We don't do it, legislature does it. So we're just presenting to you what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
now we know why Brian didn't come tonight, right?
That's right, he's still down there calculating.
Thank you.
Quick question, Whitney.
Yes.
Sure. On page 75, section 2321, what is transfer of SPED to SU fiscal year 16?
It's a special education transfer.
Fiscal year 16 is actually a typo, so thank you. That's actually supposed to be the current year, but it didn't get updated.
Okay, thank you. So that's all special education?
Yes.
Is that the difference between the equalized people and the actual count? So that should be the number of kids who are in special ed?
No.
It's special ed students are a separate entity by itself. We have 381 students who are on an individualized education plan out of 2,000. Those are special ed students. And so that's an expense. Special ed students often cost more to educate, and the state reimburses at a higher rate for those students.
And if you look at page 73, where it says special education, that used to be where all of your special ed costs were located. your teacher, special ed teachers and all this speech services and all supplies and equipment that's related to those students used to be there. But then as you can see in fiscal year, how high they were in fiscal year 17 and then in fiscal, the current year, how much they're going down. And that was because the statute is requiring that those be paid for where the at the SU level, which is also where revenue is received. It's really just a cost shift from the local level into an assessment and paid through the assessment.
More compliments. Thank you all. And I see that you've lowered the cost, but you've extended even more programs than extended Thursdays. That's really great. But I would recommend to everyone, if you really want to know what's going on, our superintendent has a comprehensive report in here, 7 pages, that explains everything clearly. And I want to thank you, Wynn, for your years in Swanton, and we hate to see you go. And just want to read from this a little bit of what the superintendent of this area contends with. Over 3,000 students, 500 teachers, and it's governed by 25 school board members who serve 6 school boards. So, you know, you're out every night, Jim. And how I've never known a superintendent to make time to ride his bicycle on walking Wednesday. When I went to school, we never saw the superintendent. He used to sneak in the back door. And the only way you knew he was there is the teacher's voice would change. We'd be really fortunate to have you, and I just want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And to recommend that people read this, 7 pages. I mean, it's comprehensive. There aren't any questions to ask if you read this.
Thank you.
Gordy, did you have a question?
I did. I'm Gordon Winters. On the earlier slide, well, first of all, I try to educate myself on how the tax rate is figured, and every time there's an article in the Messenger, I try to read it to the end, and I make it to about the 3rd paragraph. I have trouble figuring it out, but I've tried to get a little more educated about it. One thing I've read is about the yield, and the yield can't be determined until after we vote.
Right, it's to the end of the legislative session.
Right. So we're you had something of the property yield isn't the same as the state yield?
Yes.
Would that be correct?
It is.
Statement? So we don't know what the yield is until.
Right.
So on, like, for example, on page 21, it shows the tax rates of the last few years for town residents. The school tax, 16, 1.27, and 1.32. Would those include the yield?
Yes.
So those would include the yield. But what we know now does not. So could you maybe explain the yield a little bit?
We're projecting what the tax rate will be based on the assumption from the tax commissioner in December as to what they thought the yield would need to provide. And again, the state of Vermont spends about $1.6 billion on education. And for that pot, there needs to be a certain amount of tax that comes in from all the municipalities to the state to be able to fund that. Because with Act 68, the state pays back to all the school districts what their budget is. And so in December, they thought that it was going to be an increase of 9.4 cents, and now they're looking more at 6. So the yield, I'll just say the yield last year was over 10,000. The yield going into this legislative session was projected at 9,800, and we believe that that's going to increase based on the budgets across the state didn't come in at 3.5% increase. They came in at about 1%, 0.7 increase. So because all the schools are in the same pot, they're all interrelated. So as I said before, the transportation, the state of Vermont reimburses 50% of our transportation. because we're all in that same $1.6 billion pot. It has some relationships. If some districts have a very high cost per pupil, it's going to have impact on the other districts. If you look in today's Messenger, there's a really good article that Michelle Monroe has put together on explaining the tax rate graphically and also explaining what the school districts in the immediate area, what their tax rates are increasing or decreasing. And I was very proud to see where ours was compared to some of the other ones. If you take a look at Port Fletcher, I wouldn't want to be a voter in Fletcher this year, nor I think would I want to be a voter in Fairfax this year. So it'll help you to understand it's not just where we are in our supervisory union, but where's the rest of the state. And these are all very complex factors that go into calculating what the local tax rate is, and to be able to do so with equity. Previously, prior to 1997, there was an equity. Towns that had a lot of resource, like ski areas, didn't have to pay much in taxes because they were getting a lot of revenue locally. And what Act 60 did, and now Act 68, is equalized the impact in all the communities.
Listen to my question?
Yes. Yeah. So take a look. Pardon?
In color.
Yes. Yeah. Very good.
Fairfax doesn't have a school resource officer, do
I don't know if they do or not. They have 1,000 kids in that school. They might have.
Any other questions?
Joel, just like in previous years, we've seen, and it used to come to our select board, I think we talked about doing that again next year. Like things that you're doing to the school. We didn't hear anything about that as far as, roof, repairs, boilers, roofs, anything like that. Is there anything big for this year coming up?
No, I don't think so. Not for here. At the high school there is.
Okay.
Was it?
Well, at the school, we're continuing with the asbestos abatement projects. So there's a couple rooms that are planned for this summer. Some flooring, some work in the bathrooms. I mean, nothing large. Like I said, the abatement is really the biggest projects. We changed how we dismiss in the Babcock building with our youngest students, mostly for safety and organization. We tried it, this is our third year, it started when I came, where kids go into the gym and parents and they're assigned to the point person. Well, with the flow of the gym on one of the exits, they're exiting onto grass. And because this is a consistent plan that's working for us, we're making that into a sidewalk this summer, just for ease of in the winter months, keeping it cleared and iced for people.
Just no big ticket issues this year.
The abatement, continuing that project.
Thank you.
Well, compared to the other schools, maybe within the Messenger Day, what's our student to staff ratio, or how's that trend?
We're roughly at state average. The state is at 4.6 per 1 students per staff ratio. The state is roughly 9 to 10 students per licensed teacher, and the state is roughly at 14 to 15 in the what's called class size ratio, which is the number of students actually in a classroom. The middle metric counts nurses, they count special educators, they count librarians that would not necessarily have classes with students. They certainly provide professional services to students. So there's really 3 different ratios, and we work very hard in what's called right sizing to make sure that those ratios are accurate. Where I thought you were going with that is how we compare in cost per pupil. And when you look at the Messenger, our cost per pupil is lower than any of the other towns in there today other than Montgomery. So we're one of the lowest cost per pupil supervisory unions in Vermont, and we've been in that lower level for quite a few years. I voted absentee ballot today for Berlin, and U32, their cost per pupil is at $18,000. Ours is at $14,000. So it gives you an idea. Berlin Elementary's at 16,000. 13, right. And so we're considerably lower cost per pupil than other school districts. So that's partially why there's a low tax rate.
All right.
Actually, I have one other thing, Joel.
Okay.
Because MVU has impact on this school budget, there is a bond vote happening at MVU on March 6th. It's a $2.9 million bond with some additions that are pretty important to MVU. And I'm just going to give you a highlight. If you haven't received a copy of the annual MVU report, they're available, I think, out here. And we're looking at pulling our boilers and our electric units out of a hole in the ground that's 29 feet deep, fills up with 13,000 gallons of water every day. It has done that since 1970. It's a tremendous liability that if that floods out our electric panel, we lose school for probably a month or so, and many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's something that's needed to happen for a long time. School first went into operation in 1970. The chiller and the cooling tower has a lifespan of 30 years. It's pushing 50. There's a lot of masonry repair and doors that need taken care of. The gym bleachers have been recommended for about 10 years to be replaced because of safety concerns, and that's a piece of it. As you know, the awards that happened earlier tonight, MVU became an emergency shelter. We've done that before, and we've never had a generator. And so part of this is a generator and a transfer switch. The other piece is, with everything that's happened with school shootings, both recently and previously, we're quite vulnerable on our back door. Students and staff come in from JPOD, and they do that unencumbered. We lock the front door, but we don't lock the back. And part of this bond will have an enclosed walkway for both security purposes as well as for prevention of slip and falls between JPOD and the regular building. And so very, very important structural changes. It's not extravagant. Many union high schools in the last 10 or 15 years have put 10, 20. Brattleboro Union put $55 million into a renovation of their school. U32, $12 million. We're asking for 2.9 to be able to bring our school up to code. So that will have some impact on the budget, but that's figured here into the Swanton budget.
James, I have a question on the other budget. Someone mentioned earlier about the bond being paid off. What bond is being paid off?
The Babcock roof.
Yeah. Is that this year be paid off, or was it paid off last year?
Paid off in the current year, or the last year.
As of last year. So it's out of the budget for this year then?
Right.
That money?
Going once? Going twice? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to the town portion. I'm going to stand. This is right in my eyesight of some of the folks, if that's all right. Only 55 slides to go through, so sit down and get comfortable. No. It's funny, and we won't go too long on some of them. Next slide, please. A few highlights we want to cover first. All right, the Northern Gateway redevelopment plan, that has been accomplished. There's a website if you want to take a look at that. Some really good things being looked at for the entrance coming from Alberg into Swanton. We have renewed and expanded the village center designation, and that includes the Northern Gateway area into the village center designation, so that can help with some grants and things, so that was a gain. Swan Enhancement Project continues with their great efforts in town. Swan Arts Council offered many programs. Our sign in the Village Green, very popular, and a lot of people asking to have stuff put on there. Town website averaged 2,000 plus visits per week. That's a pretty high number. Robin Hood Drive extension permits were received. Select Board created a trial part-time economic development coordinator position. Elizabeth Nance is with us here this evening. We continued our 5th year of the Swanton Village Police contract. Beautification Committee, which is part of the SEP, did some great things, planting flowers and trees throughout. The fit and healthy path that very heavily used, paving made a big difference a couple years ago. We level funded where possible our budgets, paid down and restructured a new highway garage debt, continued to promote economic development. We opposed the wind turbine projects, and we know how that ended up for the year. Awarded municipal planning grant for first economic development summit in 2018. That'll probably be in the October timeframe. And we did some renovations and repairs to the town office, making it look a lot nicer on the outside. Highway, we put a lean-to roof on the south wall of the sand shed that helps us keep heavy equipment out of the weather, the elements. And we also shored up the salt shed because there were some issues with the wall starting to buckle. We constructed another section of the sidewalk along Robin Hood, and we will complete that in 2018. We prepped work to start on Robin Hood Drive extension, and we'll get that all the way out to Route 7 this year. Whether or not we get it paved, we're not sure, but we will get it extended. We did a couple roads for resurfacing, James Road and Middle Road. We did some bank stabilization on Law Farm Road. We did some repairs up on French Hill. That was really bad last spring, and we will get up and do some more this year. Put some culverts in on Hog Island and Lakewood Drive. We hired 2 new members for our crew, Mr. Mike Bacchus and Mr. Steve Plouffe. New roadside mower purchase. I don't want to confuse anybody. That's just a piece that it goes on the back of the tractor. We'll talk about a new tractor and the arm mower at one of our meetings in the future. Future projects for highway, Robin Hood, as I talked about. We haven't decided which roads we're going to pave yet, but we'll have that information out very soon. Talked about the sidewalk. Law Farm Road, we have some more ditching and stabilization to do. And then, as always, we'll apply for more grants for additional highway projects, one of them being South River Street. And on South River Street, just as a heads up, we will be replacing the old stone culvert this year, and that will involve a 2-week shutdown on South River Street. That'll be well publicized when that's going to happen. Most likely in the July timeframe when the river's down. Now into the meat of this evening is the budget. So bear with me. I think next year we're going to do like the IRS, and we're going to round up so I don't have to read like 80 cents and 23 cents and 3 cents. I mean, come on. If all the voted articles are approved, the town general budget, $1,213,000. $213,173.80. Highway budget, $1,321,253.23. So the town residents' budget would be a total of $2,534,427.03. Village total would be $1,320,548. Swanton school budget, as was briefed earlier, $8,397,480. And the MBU budget, $14,685,738. So how does that relate to tax rate? In the general budget, if all articles approved, I already read that number, to be raised by taxes would be $501,397.91. Projected tax rate, 0.1549. Last year was 0.1427, so the increase is 0.0122. Again, the increase is 0.0122. Highway budget, all articles approved, $1,321,253.23. To be raised by taxes, $849,040.60. Projected rate, 0.2365 for 2018. Last year it was 0.2283. So the tax rate increase is 0.0082. Going a little bit fast, but if you got specific questions on that, we can either stop as we go through these, or we can catch them after we get through the budget. So here, the next slide, the projected residential tax rates. I'm just going to read the 2018 column, town general. .1549, highway .2365, education 1.3282, for a total town tax rate of 1.7196. Village, the general is the same as what the town pays. The village tax rate .8256. Education rate's the same. The total adds up to 2.3087. And on the next slide is our comparison, I believe. Not yet. All right, non-residential first. General number is the same. Highway is the same, but the education rate is much larger, 1.5643. So the total town tax rate for non-residents is 1.9557. And then the village non-resident, the general's the same, village is the same, the education rate's 1.5643. For a total village tax rate for non-residents of 2.5448. Next slide is the one where we compare it to $200,000 properties. So town resident, for a $200,000 property, last year you would have paid $3,391 in taxes. This year you'd pay $3,439.20 for a difference of $48.20. Next line, village resident would have paid $4,516.40. This year you pay $4,617.40 for a difference of $101 for $200,000 of property assessment. And the projected non-residential properties, quite a difference, again, because of the ed rate. Town non-residential for $200,000 property, your 2017 bill, $3,658.60. 2018, that bill would be $3,911.40 for a difference of $252.80. Village non-resident, 2017 would have paid $4,784. 2018 would pay $5,089.60 for a total difference of $305.60. All right, before we go on to the candidates, I have questions about the budget numbers. We should open that floor up first to that.
I don't know if this is budgetary, but it's an infrastructure question.
Yes.
And it's about the Robin Hood Drive extension to Route 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious of what permits are needed to be acquired before the traffic can roll? And how soon can we expect to be able to drive from this building to Johns Bridge?
Well, you can drive from this building to Johns Bridge today. It's the question of which road. If you're talking across Robin Hood Drive, our goal is by the end of 2018 is to have that road open. Now, as far as permits, we have applied for like stormwater, there's some wetland permitting we had to do, and a few other permits that we had to apply for with the state. So those have been applied for, and we've received them back. So we've got the permitting process done. We are ready to start excavating this spring.
Shovel ready.
Shovel ready. The project is shovel ready. We're doing it in-house, so we're not going out with a contract. And what most likely we'll do is leave it without an asphalt service through the winter next year. We're going to take a look at the budget. We may get a base coat, but part of me says with the amount of work we're going to do, letting it settle for a year would be the best thing, and then put a coat on in 2019. That is the goal.
Because I think there's going to be a lot more traffic than you think.
It is. Come take a look with me at the spec that we had to put in for the state for the road. It will be better than the existing Robin Hood Drive in either section. Oh yes, we are going down 30-something inches and replacing material the whole way. Yep, it'll be a nice project when it's done.
That was a good deal we made.
Yep, absolutely it was. We, right? We. I think you had a lot to do with that. Thank you, Dick, because that'll be nice when we have that open. It'll make a difference in our traffic right through the village.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes?
Is there a proposal for a street light at that intersection with Route 7, or? No, or?
At this time, there is not.
No?
It's certainly something we can evaluate. The town in general does not have very many streetlights, and that would actually be out in the town area. We want to make sure it had the right markings, stop signs, et cetera, that delineate that road, and I think as people use it, they'll get accustomed to it, but we can certainly look at that.
I was just wondering.
Yep. No, right now, there is no plan.
Thank you.
An answer, yes.
Crazy question.
No such thing.
The railroad tracks, as you exit Swanton, that are serve no purpose, will they ever be removed?
The ones that are in Route 7, that was a condition of the permit.
Yes.
Okay.
For us to remove them. We will work, we've already been talking with the district, and they will work with us to get us some traffic control, and we will take them out and make that smoother right there. Yes. Any other questions?
I'll just add one thing to the proposed tax bills up here.
Yes.
That income sensitivity can change what the property tax liability might be on a $200,000 property, at least for the education tax. And 72% of voters in Swanton have some level of income sensitivity where they would pay or get an offset from the state based on income for some of that property tax bill.
Yes, and we pay out a certain amount of that every year, don't we? Yeah. Yeah, excellent, well, thanks. All right, next slide, please, David. All right, candidates for office. Flip to the next slide, please, and then we'll come back to this one. You see, there's about 5 or 6 write-ins. That's way too many, folks. Let's go back. All right, auditor, 3 years, Joyce Bombardier. Cemetery Commission, Mr. Write-in or Mrs. Write-in. Cemetery Commissioner, Mr. and Mrs. Write-in. Collector of delinquent taxes, 1 year, Betty Cheney, thank you. Trustee of public money, same thing, write-in. Next, please. School director, 2 years, Mr. Creelman, thank you. School director, 3 years. Must be a lot of write-in family in this town. Yes.
I know that Don Collins is going into write-in for the school director for 3 years.
Excellent. Thanks, Don. Town agent, 1 year, same issue, and lister, 3 years, David Horton. Selectman, 2 years. We have that issue with our board. So, if someone's interested, let us know. Selectman, 3 years, Dan, thanks, Dan. Town grand juror, and then moderator, Brian again. Well, I think we got to make it a condition if we're going to vote him in. He's got to make sure he can deconflict his one main meeting of the year.
Yeah.
All right, and I want to take a moment and mention this tonight. David read all the different articles. As a select board, I've been on close to 6 years. And a few years ago, we took all these lines and we just wrapped them right into just the regular general budget. And what we decided as a board, and we really haven't determined the number of years we're going to do it, but we want to go out to the voters, give them an opportunity to vote on each of these lines, and then next year, if they're all approved, they're going to be wrapped into the general budget again in about a 3-year period, is we'll do the same thing, just so voters can take a look at it. It's not to single out any of these great organizations, but that's just what we felt was important, to let the voters have that opportunity. So I just wanted to make that clear tonight. So, these, question?
I believe there is no longer, it's not CVAA,
Age one.
it's Age Well now. You had it.
It's the previous.
Yeah, on the previous one. Right there. Champlain Valley Agency on Aging is now Age Well.
And Champlain.
Yeah, yes.
They'll get the money, don't they?
What's that?
They'll get the money.
Right, they'll get the money, but I'm not sure when that name change took place.
It changed last year.
Last year?
So it'd be a good time to mention to folks that ask for this money from our community, that if there's changes within their departments or their associations, that they let us know so that we can fix this. Yeah.
Okay. Normally, we get a letter asking for the money, so we probably just didn't change the name. And then next one, David, no, back up one. You must have caught it, because on the one I have, the next to the last one, Vermont Adult Learning, that is the only new one that was not on and wrapped into the general budget last year, so I just wanted to call attention to that, just so people are aware of it. The other thing we talked about is if one of these agencies comes in for an increase, and we have it a year where it's all wrapped into the general budget, we put that increase as a separate line item. So like last year, when you would have gone to vote, there would have been 1 or 2 line items because some of the agencies asked for an increase. So we always put that increase as a separate line item so voters get their choice. All right, next. There's the town's official website. Again, 2,000 per week roughly hit, so people are taking a look at it. Next. That's pretty much it, unless folks have, actually we'll open up to public comments if we don't have any more questions on the budget.
So I got something to go on to, I guess we can do it here, is thank everybody. I'm up for re-election this year. Thank you all for the support. Look forward to going another 3 years. Like Reggie had mentioned earlier, we have an amazing community. We work well together with the village and all the boards that we have. But one thing that I want to mention tonight is all these open write-ins. I really want to thank this guy right here for giving 2 years of his life as for the community, and he's going to continue on. He's heavily involved with Little League and the rec committee as well. But we definitely need people stepping up, and we'd like to see younger folks. This guy's old, so he's doing it 20 years. So, like Joel said earlier, we need to fill some of these spots, and if you guys have anybody out there that's interested, all you need is 30 write-ins. He's running the floor, not me.
You're talking about the write-ins, that's why I was going to ask you. But Joel, all of the write-ins, I think a lot of people don't know what involved. I mean, what is that task? What is the job description for that, so to speak, the voluntary description?
That's a good point, and as you're bringing that up, it made me think, do we even put the word out that we have those vacancies? And we probably...
That's the first time I've heard that there are that many, and no one really knows what that responsibility entails, how much time a week, how many meetings you're going to go to. It would really be helpful to have that kind of information populated on the town website. If anyone is interested, they can pick and choose. I'm sure people could serve on more than one if they so chose.
Yeah, that's great suggestion, David. That's something we can put on the town website. And then I would encourage, like, for the cemetery commissioners, is to get hold of an existing, cemetery commissioner and ask them how much time are they putting into it. And if you want to know about the select board, give me a call, please, folks, and I'll tell you how much time we put in it. And what I would encourage is, I'll be up for re-election next year, and I'd love to see 2 or 3 people running against me, because that really shows that we got people interested in doing these positions and not just having one name doing it. So
Yeah, but when you're doing such a good job, I mean...
I would still like a few folks. At some point, Joel's going to move on. All right, anything else? Neil?
Joel, I'd just like, as a Swanton citizen, I'd like to extend Danny's invitation to people to get involved, because the Swanton community has got a lot coming up, and the more people that are involved, the more rewarding it will be for everybody. Gordon stepped up, Dave Fosgate, we've got the town and the village have both got a lot coming up, and the more people get involved, maybe the less complaints we'll have, but you've got to get involved in this great community and enjoy it, so I encourage everybody to step up.
Thanks, Neil, and I think I saw it somewhere, Swanton's on the move, right?
Yes.
And I think we got proof of that and all that we're trying to accomplish.
So there are a lot of folks that are involved in the different task force for SET, and maybe we better, it's kind of late now, start talking that up and letting
It's not too late yet.
people know.
Still got a week.
Yeah. Well, just had one meeting tonight before I got here, but spread the word for sure. And I also want to take a minute to thank all you fellows and ladies for the good work that you've done, and to thank Gordon and Deb for their big project and for the work you did on the North End Gateway with all the nice painting, and to thank the Chipinellis for what they have done for the teen center, and Gordon was a big part of that as well. So yeah, Swanton's it's a pretty great place to live.
Thank you, Sandy. Ed?
I was just thinking about 35 years or so ago, we were concerned with the same issue, nobody coming to the meetings. And the village has maintained, they mail out their reports. Perhaps if the town went back to do that, at least then you know you're putting a report in everybody's house. They're going to see it. Somebody who might not pick it up in the Grand Union has it in his house, he may read it and say, hey, I'm interested.
Okay.
I know there's an expense to it, but I think it's a worthwhile expense.
I'm not convinced we need to send the whole report, maybe pick 2 or 3 pages and put that in an envelope to everybody, and then they can grab this and for more information might be one possibility. All right.
You have it in email format though, right?
Oh, yeah. And probably can, start doing that.
Also on the website.
Kind of certain pages.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to reach people, but yes, we can improve that.
Some of us old timers don't do that.
Speaking of the report, I think we need to compliment Tanya and Kathy.
Absolutely, and one thing, first of all, thank you, Kathy, and please pass that on to Tanya. There's a lot of effort to put this together, and they do a great job. The other thing, next year we'll make sure to have a slide when we do a dedication. That should be the first thing up on our slideshow, so the Dickie here. All right, folks, anything else?
Yes, we'd like to thank Patty Jo for being on the school board for 9 years.
Thank you, Patty.
Has missed She has missed many of her children's sporting events and different events to be at board meetings, negotiations, and all kinds of committees. So we're hoping you'll come back when you have the empty nest. We're going to go through that.
Thank you.
All right, next item. I don't think we need executive sessions. No, we're good. All right, I think we can adjourn and get a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it. Dean would make a motion, John second it. All in favor, state aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. Thank you, everybody.